What if the only way to achieve absolute, like, untethered personal freedom is to completely submit to a collective?
Right?
It sounds like a massive paradox, right? I mean,
Well,
normally we think of freedom as the ability to do whatever we want, whenever we want, without anyone telling us otherwise.
exactly. The classic American definition of freedom,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly. But the stack of research you sent us for today's deep dive argues the exact opposite.
It does, and it makes for this really fascinating psychological tension. We are looking at a philosophical excerpt by an author named Swevin.
Okay.
It's titled The Unity Between Individuality and Generality in Lifechanyuan. And, well, the core mission of our deep dive today is to explore this very delicate and, let's be honest, often incredibly frustrating
It's
balance.
so frustrating.
Right, the balance between expressing our unique selves and fitting into a larger group.
Yeah, and when we were looking through the notes you sent us on this philosophy, it really struck a nerve because, I mean, we all feel this tension every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
You know that feeling when you are sitting in a perfectly uniform, gray, open plan office?
Yeah.
And you just have this overwhelming urge to put like a giant neon pink flamingo right in the middle of your desk.
Yes. Or, you are at a polite family gathering, everyone is sticking to the safe script.
Right, talking about the weather.
Yeah, and you are just itching to bring up some wild, controversial documentary you just watched.
Oh, totally. Just to see what happens.
That urge is universal.
Yeah.
It is the tension between wanting to scream, "This is who I am,"
Yeah.
and the very real necessity of, not getting fired.
Or not ruining Thanksgiving dinner.
Exactly. We crave a unique identity,
Yeah.
but we also desperately need to belong. However, we need to be incredibly clear right up front about the scope of the text you provided.
Right.
Shifeng isn't just making casual sociological observations about office dynamics or family dinners here.
Not at all. It's way deeper than that.
He is laying out a highly specific, very rigid roadmap for spiritual and collective harmony. The author frames this balance as the literal key to reaching higher planes of existence, specifically destinations he calls the thousand-year world or the celestial island continent.
Which sounds intense.
It is. And because this text outlines such a specific spiritual worldview, we want to be clear, our mission today isn't to endorse Soifeng's theology or suggest you pack up and move into a commune.
Right. We're not telling anyone to join anything.
Exactly. We are strictly here to analyze the source material you provided, impartially unpack its mechanics, and just see how the author views the structure of society and the soul.
Exactly. We are just putting the text under the microscope. And the stakes the author lays out are incredibly high.
Extremely high.
According to this worldview, finding this balance is the difference between reaching a state of paradise or sliding into literal suffering.
Yes, actual hell, according to the text.
But to understand how Xu thinks we can reach these celestial destinations, we first have to understand how he defines the two massive competing forces at the center of all this.
Right, individuality and generality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the text is exceptionally strict in how it defines these two terms, isn't it?
Oh, very strict. And it is equally strict about the extreme dangers of lacking either one of them.
Okay.
Let's start with individuality.
Hmm?
The author argues that without individuality, life is entirely pallid.
Pallid, like totally washed out.
Yes. The text uses a very vivid metaphor of a garden to explain this.
Oh, I loved the garden metaphor.
That's great, right?
Yeah, the author says that if a garden only has one single type of flower, it is monotonous.
Right.
It's completely boring. But if it's a riot of different colors with countless flowers of all different shapes and sizes in full bloom, then it's splendid.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
And the text insists that every person, who he refers to as a Chanyuan celestial, must have their own unique characteristics that distinguish them from everyone else.
Okay.
And crucially, the text says this individuality must be fiercely protected and supported by the group.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah, you cannot expect everyone to be exactly like you. You cannot judge other people based on your own personal habits.
Right.
And you absolutely cannot use your own personal standards to bind others or criticize them.
Okay, so on the surface, that sounds incredibly liberating.
Right.
Like, just be your own flower. Let everyone else be their own flower.
Exactly.
But wait, if everyone is just doing their own thing, how do you actually have a functioning society?
And that is the million-dollar question. This brings us to the other side of the coin, which the text calls generality.
Generality.
Right. Generality is the unifying force. Because if you just have a bunch of radical individuals doing whatever they want with absolutely no unifying structure.
Just total chaos.
Exactly. The text says society becomes a sheet of loose sand.
A sheet of loose sand. Wow.
Without generality, you have total chaos. You have internal strife, conflict, and friction.
That is such a striking image. Nothing holds together. You step on it, and it just displaces.
Right. And when a society doesn't hold together, the text warns that our collective energy is entirely exhausted by internal conflict.
Wow. Yeah. We spend all our time fighting each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can't be happy, we can't be free. And ironically, in that state of constant conflict, we can't even properly demonstrate our individuality anyway.
Because we're too busy surviving.
Exactly. The author warns that if a society lacks generality for too long, it degrades.
How so?
It slides downward into a secular world, then into an animalistic world governed by the law of the jungle, and ultimately into hell.
Yikes. So you genuinely need both.
Yes.
You need the unique flowers, but you also need the garden bed that holds them all together.
That's a great way to summarize it.
It makes me think of a jazz band.
A jazz band. Okay, I like where this is going.
Think about it. Every musician in a jazz quartet has their own unique instrument, their own specific style, their own history with the music.
Yep.
That is their individuality. When the saxophonist takes a solo, they are showing off exactly who they are.
The jazz band is a great analogy, but Xufeng takes that logic a step further.
Oh.
Because in your jazz band, the saxophonist isn't playing in a vacuum.
Exactly. They have to agree on the key of the song.
Yes.
They have to agree on the tempo. They have to listen to the bassist and the drummer.
Right.
That underlying structure, the key, the tempo, the shared goal of the song, that is the generality.
Precisely.
If the saxophone player refuses to agree on the key because they feel it like stifles their individuality, they aren't making avant-garde music anymore.
No, they're just making noise.
Exactly. They're just making noise and the listener's going to leave the room.
But what's fascinating here is where the cosmology of the text raises the stakes.
Okay.
If you play out of tune in a human jazz band, you just get fired.
Right. You lose your gig.
But in Xufeng's worldview, if your soul plays out of tune with the universe, your soul literally devolves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
What is critical to understand here is the mechanism of how this unity creates happiness. The author points out that the celestial beings living in the thousand-year world are vastly happier and freer than people in the regular human world.
and why is that?
Specifically because of this perfect unity.
Which, I have to say, feels deeply counterintuitive at first.
Really?
How so? Well, I think a lot of people listening would assume that true freedom means having absolutely no rules or structure at all.
Oh, I see. But the text argues the exact opposite.
Right.
It states that the fewer conflicts there are between your personal individuality and the group's generality, the higher your quality of life will be.
Wow.
By submitting to that shared harmony, by locking into the tempo of the song, as you put it, you actually achieve greater personal freedom, not less.
Because you aren't wasting all your daily energy fighting the tempo.
Exactly.
You can just close your eyes and play.
Beautifully said.
But the text makes a really sharp distinction between how normal human society enforces this tempo and how the author's ideal community, Lifechanyuan, does it.
Yes. The difference is massive.
Right.
The author notes that human society maintains its generality through blunt force.
Yeah, laws and stuff.
We use constitutions, laws, the police, the military courts.
Right.
If we didn't have those compulsory measures hanging over our heads, human society would collapse back into that animalistic law of the jungle.
Where the strong just prey on the weak.
Exactly.
So we basically force the jazz band to play the same song by threatening them with jail time if they play out of tune.
Essentially, yes.
But in Lifechanyuan, the text says they don't use laws or police or coercion.
Not at all.
They rely entirely on what the author calls the same frequency resonance of soul.
Right.
It has to be based completely on free will, which sounds beautiful on paper, but, I mean, I'm trying to map this onto real life.
Sure.
If human society needs the very real threat of a police force to keep us in line, how does one achieve this resonance of soul naturally? Like, what is the actual mechanism?
The author's answer to that is surprisingly practical, and it relies on physical proximity.
Physical proximity.
Yeah. The text argues that collective living is the ultimate venue to cultivate the way.
Okay.
If you want to achieve that soul resonance, you cannot do it theoretically. You have to actually move in and physically live with other people.
Oh, wow. And the author doesn't sugarcoat why this is necessary.
No, he doesn't.
The text points out something about human nature that is almost painfully accurate. When you are single, or when you live entirely alone, it is incredibly easy to convince yourself that you are perfect.
Oh, absolutely, because there's zero friction.
Right.
There is no generality pushing back against your individuality.
Right. You leave your shoes right in the middle of the hallway and no one trips over them.
Nobody complains.
You decide to play incredibly loud music at 2 a.m. and no one bangs on the wall to yell at you.
Exactly.
You sit there and think, wow, I am a flawless, perfectly balanced, highly enlightened human being.
Yes, the illusion of perfection.
But the text says the exact moment you enter a collective, all your defects and deficiencies are instantly exposed. You suddenly realize you are completely incompatible with a harmonious group.
The author uses the metaphor of a tree to explain this process.
A tree?
Yeah. Living in a collective forces you to prune the parts of your individuality that don't fit the generality.
Ah, okay.
Just like pruning superfluous branches off a tree to make it grow straight.
Wait, hold on. I have to step in here. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because if I'm listening to this, alarms are going off.
How so?
If I have to constantly prune my personality, my habits, and my desires just to fit the group, I mean, how is that not just a dictatorship of the majority?
Right. That's the natural pushback.
How does the text reconcile this pruning with the idea of individual freedom?
That is exactly the friction the author anticipates.
Good.
The text argues that it's not a dictatorship if the overall goal of the group aligns with universal harmony.
Universal harmony.
It gives a very specific example to illustrate this.
What's the example?
Let's say everyone in the collective is having a good time. They're having a party, but you decide you want to go to sleep.
Right, pretty normal.
So you go to bed, and then you start complaining about the noise they're making.
Right.
The text says, you are the one in the wrong.
Wait, really?
Yes. Your individuality is failing to incorporate into the generality.
Okay, but what if the situation is flipped?
Yeah.
What if everyone is sleeping and I want to throw a party?
The author addresses that too. If everyone else is resting and sleeping, but you decide you want to have fun and make a lot of noise, you are equally wrong.
I see.
The problem isn't the collective acting as a dictator. The problem is your refusal to harmonize with the shared energy state of the group in that specific moment. The mechanism of soul resonance isn't about rigid rules. It's about intuitively sensing the frequency of the people around you and aligning with it.
I see what you're saying, but think about it practically for a second.
Sure.
There are millions of introverts out there, or just people who deeply value their solitude.
Absolutely.
Maybe someone just wants to be a lonely ranger.
A lonely ranger.
Yeah. What if you don't want to bother anyone at the party? You don't want to make noise while they sleep, but you also don't want to be pruned.
Right.
What if you just want to go off to a cabin in the woods, be entirely self-sufficient, and cultivate your spirituality in total isolation?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text actually tackles that exact hypothetical head-on.
Oh, it does.
It anticipates someone asking, can't I just concentrate on my own cultivation and go to the place I yearn for alone?
And what's the answer?
The author says, sure, you can physically do that. Whatever consciousness you develop in that cabin will take you to a corresponding space in the universe.
Okay.
But you absolutely cannot go to paradise.
Wait, what? So there are no lone wolves in paradise?
None whatsoever. And the text establishes a firm cosmological rule to back this up.
Okay.
In paradise, there is no place for a lonely ranger.
Yep.
Even in the highest, most liberated realms, like the Celestial Island continent, where you supposedly experience massive freedom, you still have to follow the generality of that realm.
So you still have rules?
You still have to actively associate with the collective. You cannot just pick 2 or 3 friends and ignore everyone else.
Which is exactly what most people do in the real world.
Exactly. The author points that out as a major flaw in the standard human world.
The text uses an incredible space metaphor here, actually.
Oh, the galaxy one.
Yeah, it says that even if you are a star, a literal, burning, massive star, you still have to belong to a galaxy.
Right.
You have to observe the generality of that galaxy, the gravitational pull, the orbit, or you are doomed to destruction.
It is a very stark warning. And the text goes into the psychological decay that happens when you isolate yourself.
The psychological decay.
Yes. The author states that people who excessively emphasize their individuality, who completely refuse to be part of the galaxy, end up incredibly lonely.
Makes sense.
Because they have no friction to keep them grounded, their souls become distorted. Their mentality becomes abnormal.
Wow.
The text literally says that those who suffer the greatest conflicts between their individuality and the generality and refuse to integrate will eventually cultivate themselves into devils, monsters, and demons.
Wow, that escalated quickly.
It really did.
We went from complaining about loud music at a house party to literally becoming a demon.
Yes, quite the leap.
But it really highlights how deeply the author believes that isolation and an excessive focus on the ego are spiritually destructive forces.
It really does. Which logically leads us to the next massive question the text tries to answer.
Okay, what's that?
If we accept the author's premise that we absolutely must be part of a galaxy, that we have to align with a generality to avoid spiritual destruction,
Right.
how do we know which galaxy's rules to follow?
Because obviously not all groups are created equal. You don't want to resonate with the wrong frequency.
Precisely. And the author lays out a fascinating hierarchy of different realms and rules, showing that absolutely everything in existence has a generality.
Everything. Like the text points out that even gangsters and criminal syndicates have a generality.
Exactly.
Bees have a generality. Ant colonies, wolf packs, they all have shared unbreakable rules.
Right. As the text says, birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
The author breaks down a few specific realms to illustrate how different these frequencies are.
Let's hear them.
First, there is the animal society.
Okay.
The generality of the animal world is driven entirely by satisfying physical desire.
Right.
And the mechanism for that is usually the strong preying on the weak.
Survival of the fittest.
Exactly. If a human lives only to satisfy their base desires using the law of the jungle, the text says they have aligned their individuality with the animal generality.
So even if they look human.
Outwardly they look human, but inwardly their soul is animalistic. And the text suggests their future existence will literally be in the animal realm.
Okay, then above that is the human society.
Yes.
And the text's definition of the human generality is fame and gain.
Fame and gain, yes.
Now, I have to admit, when I was reading the source notes you sent us, this is the part that genuinely surprised me.
Really?
Yeah. Usually in philosophical or spiritual texts, chasing wealth and status is universally condemned.
True.
But the author doesn't condemn it here. In fact, the text explicitly advises the reader that as a human, you should pursue fame and gain.
It is a fiercely pragmatic piece of advice within the framework of his philosophy.
Pragmatic how?
The text argues that because fame and gain are the established, undeniable generality of the human world, pursuing them means you are aligning with your current environment. You are moving with the current, not against it. If you do that, your life in this specific realm will be relatively smooth.
Right.
But if you deliberately depart from the pursuit of fame and gain while living in human society, if you try to act like a monk while working on Wall Street, you are going to face endless setbacks.
Difficulty, distress.
Yes, you will be crushed by the friction.
So what does this all mean? It is exactly like logging into different servers on a massive multiplayer video game.
I like that analogy.
Think about it. Each server has entirely different underlying code and rules for winning.
Right.
If you log into the animal server, the game mechanics are purely survival of the fittest.
Yes.
If you log into the human server, the main quest line coded into the game is about acquiring fame and gain.
Exactly.
If you are playing on the human server, but you absolutely refuse to play the fame and gain quest line.
If you try to invent your own rules.
Yeah, if you try to invent your own rules, the game itself is going to penalize you. You are going to have a terrible time because you are constantly fighting the fundamental code of the server.
That is a perfect way to visualize the mechanics of what Suifeng is saying.
Right.
But the crucial point is that the text doesn't want you to stay on the human server forever.
Oh, okay.
The author introduces two much higher realms that operate on entirely different code.
What are they?
There is the universe itself, whose generality is governed by the Tao.
The Tao.
Yes, with what the text calls the greatest creator at the core.
Not
Harmonizing with that massive universal generality is the only way to have a spiritually bright prospect. And then there is the specific generality of Lifechanyuan.
right, the server we are ultimately trying to log into to win the game, basically.
Yes. The generality of Lifechanyuan is defined as the way of the celestial being.
Way of the celestial being.
It is designed for anyone who seeks joy, freedom, and the Elysium world.
Okay.
If you want to reach that realm, you have to perfectly align your individuality with that specific set of values. You have to drop the fame and gain code and adopt the celestial code.
But this brings up a massive, almost insurmountable obstacle.
Which is?
Because the text points out that we didn't start on the celestial server. We were born onto the human server.
This raises an important question,
Yeah.
and it might be the most critical psychological observation the author makes about our current state. The text claims that because we come from human society, a place that obsessively emphasizes individual achievement, personal branding, and standing
Yeah,
out.
totally. Like social media.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because of that, we are actually born with a severe spiritual disadvantage.
Wow.
We naturally want to exhibit our individuality and completely ignore the generality.
Right.
And when we can't show off or when we are forced to blend in, we get distressed, angry, and even revengeful.
The author uses incredibly strong, almost shocking language here, too.
Yes, he does.
The text says that as members of human society, we are innately psychologically deformed.
Deformed, yes.
Think about that phrase. We are innately handicapped. We've been trained our entire lives to prioritize the singular flower and completely ignore the health of the garden.
And that innate deformity is the ultimate challenge the text presents to the reader.
Right.
If someone wishes to reach these higher spaces, like the Celestial Island continent, they have to actively unlearn that human deformity.
Unlearn it. Wow.
They have to stop fighting the larger resonance. They must take their unique traits, their individuality, and figure out how to perfectly harmonize them with the overarching values of their chosen collective.
Right.
That is how the author believes you sublimate your life.
So, to go back to our jazz band, you still have to play your totally unique, mind-blowing saxophone solo,
Yes.
but you have to do it perfectly in time with the cosmic tempo.
Precisely. You do not erase who you are.
Right.
The text makes it clear that erasing your individuality is just as dangerous as ignoring the collective.
You just have to tune it.
Yes. You ensure that who you are serves the harmony of the whole.
Wow. It is a massive amount to process.
It really is.
We've gone from the petty frustrations of an office environment to the literal gravitational structure of the universe.
Quite a journey.
Yeah. So to quickly recap the journey of today's deep dive into the sources you provided, we started with the premise that individuality without a shared structure is just loose sand.
Leading to chaos and exhaustion.
Right. But a structure without individuality is a sterile dictatorship.
Exactly.
The text argues that the only way to achieve true, lasting freedom and avoid spiritual distortion is to actively participate in a collective.
Yes.
We have to allow the friction of living with other people to prune away our selfish, ego-driven habits.
Pruning the tree.
Yeah. Whether you are currently navigating the rigid rules of the human world, chasing that fame and gain just to survive the server, or you are aiming for the harmonious resonance of the 1,000-year world, the core tension remains exactly the same.
It does.
You have to be a vibrant, entirely unique flower, but you absolutely have to figure out how to share the garden bed with everyone else.
Which leaves us with a final, somewhat provocative thought to consider,
Oh.
especially given the reality of how we live today.
Okay, what is it?
Well, the text clearly defines the human generality as fame and gain, and the animal generality as satisfying desire.
Right.
But as we spend more and more of our lives in digital collectives,
Oh, wow, yeah.
social media platforms curated by invisible, emotionless algorithms,
Yeah.
we have to ask ourselves, what is the new generality of our online world?
That is a fascinating question.
Are we pruning away our true, vibrant individuality just to perfectly resonate with a digital collective that doesn't even have a soul?
Wow. Are we just putting up a neon pink flamingo on our desk because the algorithm told us it would get the most engagement?
Exactly.
Man, it is definitely something to chew on the next time you feel that deep internal friction between wanting to stand out and needing to fit in.
Absolutely.
Thank you for providing the research and joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll keep exploring the garden, and we'll catch you next time.